Hello and welcome to ATFX's Bank of Japan preview. Massive week for financial markets this week. Not only have we got what we're focusing on today, the Bank of Japan, we've got the Federal Reserve Bank with their rate announcement, we've got the Bank of England, and we've got the Swiss National Bank. So some very big central bank rate announcements. Now, out of all four of those, in all honesty, we're only expecting a move from one of them. That's the Swiss National Bank, and they're expected to cut rates by 25 basis points. But what we are expecting from all of them, and in the Bank of Japan in particular, and this is where the Bank of Japan does stand out, is that forward guidance will be paramount. And the information that we get from the statements and from the press conferences will give the market excellent insight into what the bank's thinking they're doing, and probably start to see some big moves in market. So what are we expecting from the Bank of Japan? We did get a rate hike from the last time out, and of course Bank of Japan, one of the few developed central banks that are looking to hike rates at the moment. Inflation did come in around 4% on the last update we got, which is far too high. And so we are expecting the Bank of Japan to remain hawkish. We are not expecting a move from this month. So what we're looking for, and the information that we're trying to get from the Bank of Japan, from Kazuo Ueda, is where they're thinking. So once again, there's two sides pulling at each other. One, inflation. And we've got a hawkish Bank of Japan. They have raised rates 3 times since coming out of their negative rate, which has been going on for 20 years. We've got yields in Japan sitting at highs, the highest we've seen since 2008, all the way back in the GFC days. But of course, going against that, we've got this huge market global uncertainty that's come from the US, that's come from tariffs. There is a threat to Japan in that. There's a threat to the Far East. So how much does the Bank of Japan's committee take that into consideration? And we're looking for forward guidance on when we get this next rate hike from the Bank of Japan. At the moment, favorite month is probably July, but that could change very sharply with the updates we're going to get from them. So what we're going to do now, just have a look at a few of the charts where there's trading opportunities. We're going to cover dollar yen. We'll go long and short term on dollar yen. And we're going to look at some of the crosses as well. So euro yen, sterling yen, and Aussie yen, which are sitting at some very interesting levels and could provide some really, really good trading opportunities. So I'll just skip over to the charts now. As always, please feel free to hit subscribe on our channel, and we'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on in financial markets. And this is the dollar yen daily chart, and it will give you a very good indication of what we've seen over the last few months, and indeed since the start of the year. So here's that dollar move. Dollar has been hit hard recently, and we are down to multi-month lows. We're down. Dollar index is down to 103.40, but dollar yen in particular has had a really big move from these highs. Once again, I've said it a few times, nearly 159, and we're down 10 big figures. We're at 149. We've had a bounce off of these levels, 140, sub 147. And here you go, on the technical line, we're actually approaching some decent levels that we could see some trades coming in. Now, coming in nearly a big figure higher, but not quite. 150.25 is the resistance trend line. This is on the dailies, and it's a strong trend line, as you can see. It's got a couple of marks on this. We've got the 200-day moving average coming in around just underneath 152, the figure. So we could see some good moves. Now, a more hawkish Bank of Japan that may pay less attention to the risks from Donald Trump, from the US, from a global trade war, could see the yen appreciate and then dollar yen move back down. Initially, we're going to be looking to target these lows that we've seen sub 147. There we go, 146.61, the low there. And onto the real low down there, 146.52. Now, there's a fair move. There's 3 big figures in that, but it could get covered fairly quickly. Top side, we've got that resistance coming in there. Expect a topside move if we do see a little bit of fear mongering from the Bank of Japan, pulling back on that hawkishness. Even though they're concerned about inflation, it would challenge these levels here, this level here, and a break to the top side could open the way to challenge that 152 level. So I'm just going to skip to one of the other charts now. This is, I'll just bring up the hourly chart as well. This is what we look at when we're looking at sort of more shorter term trading opportunities. We do still have a day to go before the announcement. But once again, similar level, 150.70 on that shorter term trend line resistance. We tend to pay less attention to the 200-day moving average on the hourlies, but it can be a factor. We probably will give support around about that 148 level, and then we're looking at those lows again, and then that's that longer term trend line, which we also saw on the daily chart. That comes in just around 145 the figure. So that's the dollar yen. And that's going to be a pure trade. Now, the one thing we have to remember with the dollar yen as well is we've got the Bank of Japan yesterday, but the other side of the equation will come in at the other end of the day with the Federal Reserve Bank. So expect moves in the dollar and in the yen, and we could get the perfect storm if we get a more hawkish, and this is a very real possibility, a more hawkish or a resiliently hawkish Bank of Japan, and we see a turn of a more dovish, or certainly less, a more dovish Fed. That could open the way for big moves back down, and that would, on the longer term chart, track that down to 145. Now, where we've got some interesting charts as well are on the crosses, and they are sitting at some interesting tech lines. I'm going to bring you over here. This is the euro yen. We've seen big moves in the euro and obviously big moves in the yen. So last couple of sessions, euro yen and yen crosses have taken up to the top. And if you look at it here, we are sitting right on this resistance trend line, and it's kind of coinciding, and this is a longer term chart, as I said, with the 200-day moving average. What we could see, and we've got highs here as well, coming in around about 165. Let's see where that one comes in. High at 164.50. A definitive break to the top side, and that would come from the BoJ stance with a more dovish, or certainly less hawkish. A break to the top side could see us swiftly up through 164, breaking these levels, breaking that resistance trend line, and could open the way for more top side in the euro yen. Conversely, of course, more hawkish, we could see it drop back into the ranges. But euro has been bid, as we all know, across the board. So potential for big trading opportunities, more so maybe in the crosses than we're getting in the dollar yen. Bringing you over to sterling yen here, and a similar setup. Here's those trend lines that come in, and they do come from they're decent trend lines. They come from decent way back, all the way back past August 23. Good touch points down here, give them a lot of significance. And here we go on the resistance trend line. I'm going to bring it into a little bit more focus. This is sterling yen. If we're still around these levels here, it gives you two strong technical indicators to trade off of. The bears, and that's going to be looking for a more hawkish BOJ. You're going to be selling sterling yen, looking for a move back down towards these levels, 191, and then support coming in just beneath 189, the figure. The bulls out there, a break of the 200-day moving average, which could coincide very strongly with a break of that resistance trend line, could see a break higher, and then we're up to challenge those 198. So Aussie yen also sitting, and I'll bring this into sharper focus for us. There we go, resistance coming in around 96, the figure. We're sitting just 60 points lower than that. Same deal. More hawkish, we'll move back into the range, we'll come down to challenge these lows, probably initially around 93, and then we're just around 92, the figure. A less hawkish Bank of Japan, and I think, you know, a lot of people are looking for these break trades, could see us travel up through this 97 figure, and we'd be targeting that 200-day moving average at around about 99. So that's where we're sitting now. I'll just bring us back to the dollar yen, which will be the major focus on the day. Plenty of trading opportunities. It really is going to come down to, unless we do get a surprise move, and if there was a surprise move, it could come. We have had one recently, and that would really see the market off. If they did hike, it would fill in this gap, and fill in that gap very quickly. But really, the high percentage chance is on what we get from the Bank of Japan, what indications we get for further guidance, and how quickly it trades. So good luck with your trading out there. If you need anything from us at ATFX, please let us know. Thank you very much for tuning in. Cheers.